Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Tara, and we are going to talk about the Twilight Zone season. What was that wave?
I don't know.
I put a bit of extra oomph in your voice, not your voice, a bit extra oomph in your name, and you gave me this little like 50s wave. Like, what the hell was that? Yeah, so we're talking about Twilight Zone, the classic original Twilight Zone. This is season 1, episode 26. The title of the episode is Execution, and we're going to have full spoilers for the episode as always. The plot of this one is that a man being hanged in the 1880s is transported to present day 1960 because there's a scientist in 1960 who's built a time device and it snatches him away from the rope, the hangman's noose, and plants him in present day. And he is bewildered by the sights and sounds of the future. Although watching this now in 2019, I'm like, haha, I could blow your minds with my iPhone. Oh, no, my iPhone. I don't have an iPhone. My smartphone is what I meant to say. I don't buy Apple products, people. I don't want anyone thinking I do, just for the record, right? I have an
Not part of the
iPad.
cult.
I have an iPad because when I was getting a tablet for comics, it was the best resolution. It was purely a technical feature, and I'm not happy about it. However, otherwise I own no Apple products because screw them, basically.
All right. Such passion.
I'm not one of these people who like wait in queue because the new iPhone's out and they're determined to get the one that has some better specifications than the one that they got last year.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not an Apple person. I've never been impressed. I kind of was I don't know, when like Apple products were first getting big and the first smartphone like came out, I wasn't living in this country at the time, so I just kind of skipped that whole thing. Took me a long time to get a cell phone.
Damn it. I was adjusting my camera and I went too far. I'm too bright, but then I went too far. There we go, it's better. Okay, so, yeah, we're on a bit of a phone rant there, bizarrely, an Apple rant. But, I mean, it's relevant because... Well, I think it's relevant because this episode, at least the back half of it, is so much about this character from the 1880s, this Caswell, who's he's just like, carriages without horses and all these lights and all the noise and the television, and he's just it's very much just the fish out of water story. And obviously there's the added element of like, he's actually a criminal, because I was excited about this episode, not remembering it, because I thought, this idea where he's in present day and he's learning about the world, but the scientist, the time inventor, time travel inventor,
The professor,
he is. I thought, it's going to be like a slow build to him, like learning and getting hints of who he actually is, that he's someone dangerous and yada yada yada. And that's not what happens at all. He figures it out within seconds, basically, and the episode has a really muddy point to it, and by the end of it, I wasn't really sure what the purpose of the whole thing was. Tara, how did you feel about this episode?
I think it's fine. I think if you didn't have the actor playing, is it Caldwell?
Caswell,
then I don't think it would be good. But I think he's really good. So
he's okay.
I sort of enjoyed watching him.
He's very animated.
Yeah, he's really good at it. But yeah, you're right. Very expressive, very animated. He does come off as evil, but not in like a mustache twirly way.
Mm-hmm.
And I like his reactions to everything, but for the most part, yeah, I don't really know what the point was. I was thinking maybe the point is kind of like Jurassic Park, where just because you can create something doesn't mean you should, because there's unintended consequences to that.
I believe the line of dialogue.
Supposed to play God.
Yeah, I believe the line of dialogue you're looking for specifically is, you were too preoccupied whether or not you could, that you never stopped to think if you should.
You should. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Goldblum.
Welcome. Well, I'm more of a Hammond, you see. Hello, John. Hello, John. Welcome to Jurassic Park. Okay.
Well done.
Well, I sound like Hammond to people who aren't Scottish. To other Scottish people, I don't sound like Hammond. I sound different. I sound far away.
I didn't even realize that he was a Scottish actor until you did an impression of him. Like, wow, that's really good.
Well, what was that? I didn't do an impression. I just said some of his lines. And you were like, it's an impression. I was like, no, it's not. I'm just saying the lines.
Mind
Dude.
blown. But yeah, I don't know. The episode is okay. Like,
It's not terrible.
it's just okay.
Yeah, it's not terrible. I think it kind of falls into this really middle of the road territory because I think for me, I'm just really disappointed that it was because I like when I heard the description last week. Between what Serling said and reading the actual little blurb on IMDb, I got excited about the character sort of piece of it. The back and forth, but the professor is knocked out after like one little monologue, and he's just gone for the rest of the episode. He's not a big part of it at all, and it's just this criminal from
Should have
1880s.
put all those coconuts away, but I guess he had to use them to make the time machine.
Was that a joke because he's from Gilligan's Island?
You've never watched Gilligan's Island.
I have never watched Gilligan's Island. Is
Mr.
that
TV expert?
Gilligan's Island? Oh, come on! Like TV, I haven't really seen much TV outside of like Star Trek, the hit television, so Star Trek, the original series, and the Twilight Zone. Outside of those, I've not really seen any TV that's pre, like, 80s. But maybe some like Fawlty Towers was the 70s, I suppose. Yeah, so that's like a comedy that I've seen from like TV. Like I don't go as far back with TV. And Gilligan's Island, I don't really believe was ever a thing here. I don't think it was a big hit. Was Gilligan's Island the one with the plane? Is that one?
No.
Is that Fantasy Island?
That's Fantasy Island with Khan.
Right. What's with Khan? Not Ricardo Montalban.
Ricardo Montalban.
Khan! Right. Because the only reason why I know that, and I get them mixed up, is because of Deep Blue Sea. Because there's a line at the start of Deep Blue Sea when Samuel L. Jackson arrives at the water facility, where he makes a joke because he arrives in this plane, he does that voice. And, of course, the irony that I don't understand the reference either is not lost on me. But that's why I know that, and I always remember that being Gilligan's Island, but I guess it's Fantasy Island.
No, Gilligan's Island is the sitcom that takes place on an island, and the professor is a character who seems to be able to build anything that you need except for something that's going to get you off this island. And he makes it all just of what the island provides, which is usually coconuts.
I mean, I know this is purely a cultural thing because I don't think Gilligan's Island ever made it to the UK, but I'm going to pretend it's an age thing instead, just because that's funnier. And
I mean, I was watching syndicated episodes, not
sure.
watching it live.
You're watching prime time on NBC or whatever network. I don't know what network it is. But
I don't know. I think it's around the time of Star Trek, maybe a little bit later.
Yeah, later in the 60s.
Because it's a very colorful show, very much like that. Buy your color TVs, so you can watch this brightly colored show.
Yeah. Arguably they overdid it because they were really trying to sell the color aspect of it. Look at all this bright colors, and I think the best example of that is when you look at Star Trek specifically, is that in the show they have all these bright, sweaters, and then you go to the movie and it's like, oh no, that's too bright for a movie. We have to do all these like grays and whites, all these earth tones, because a movie's a classy affair, even though it's in color, whereas TV is like, no, bright, vivid, blah blah blah. At least at the time. Nowadays, it doesn't matter. Like nowadays,
Technicolor.
Yeah, Technicolor. Yeah. So yeah, the episode starts with this guy Caswell being hanged, and they're just in a tree. They've got a horse, and we find out that he shot someone in the back, and he tries to play it off like he's like, oh, I wouldn't do it again. I'd ask him out for a drink. He's like, you shot him in the back. This wasn't like a friendly dispute that got out of hand. This was, you shot him in the back when he wasn't looking. So they really set him up as a nefarious individual right from the get-go. But of course, when they hang him, he teleports out of there and arrives in the pod in 1960. And the professor tries to help him get acquainted, but when he's not there, he's maybe off having a nap. We get like a whole monologue into a tape recorder where the professor's like talking about, I brought someone from 1880 and he is a ruffian.
I love that you went on this rant about how much you don't understand or don't know Gilligan's Island, but you're still referring to him as the professor.
Oh, because that's what he's credited as. No, he's credited as the professor. He's Professor Mannion.
Okay.
On IMDb, it says Professor. God damn it. You started it.
All right. That's just what he's called in Gilligan's Island too.
Well, this was first, so up yours, Gilligan's Island.
All right.
Unless your
I
first
hope
name is
you heard.
Vince. If you're Vince Gilligan, then I worship the ground you walk on and keep making more TV. Thank you very much. Oh, he should totally remake that show and just call it Vince Gilligan's Island. I'll watch it.
I think of Ira Gilligan from Arrested Development now.
Of course you do. Of course. So
The
without
guy, I think he's like the family stockbroker or whatever, and he's like, "You guys should really invest in an IRA." And they're like, "No, Gilligan." He goes, "It's Ira. That's my name." But they confuse Ira with IRA. It was stupid.
I agree. And I like Arrested Development for the record. I don't want thinking otherwise. There's always money in the banana stand. So Caswell, without much provocation, basically when he's not given what he wants to go out. He kills the professor. Well, yeah, he kills the professor. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I just knock him out. He kills him, and I sent you a message when I was watching this because when he gets out in the streets, I was like, oh, they brought the neon signs and the Dutch angles back from The Four of Us Are Dying. Do you remember those shots from that episode where he's sort of walking down the street and there's a lot like a montage of all these neon signs that are all at Dutch angles?
Yeah, that was like the noir one.
Yeah. It's like his face changed like 4 times. You know, he had like four.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember the concept. I thought those were two different episodes, but I think you're right. Yeah.
I
It
think
was like
that. Yeah.
it was going for like a film noir thing, and it had like these signs hanging down all on top
Yeah.
of each other.
And the reason why I say that is because one of the sort of main areas this guy looks at, it looks like a bunch of those same signs in the same order. It's like they just sort of reuse part of the same set. Like, oh, we've got these hanging around, just put them up.
Yeah, probably.
And I guess they were hoping that it's been like 14 weeks since that one aired. No one will remember. But yeah, we're watching it weekly though, so I mean, we're getting the experience.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it is. He goes into a bar or whatever, and he's out of it. He's asking for help, and the bartender is trying to answer his questions, trying to talk to him. He's obviously not getting a lot out of him. He's very confused. Because it quickly he starts to realize, but you don't know what a car is. You don't know what this is or that. And then of course he notices the TV, which is not turned on, and he says, he just stares at it, and the guy's like, "Oh, do you know what that is? Here, demonstration." And he turns it on, and it happens to be a cowboy show that's playing, and it's just looking at this one cowboy coming towards the screen about to pick up his gun. So Caswell thinks he's gonna get shot and picks up his gun and shoots back at the TV.
This is definitely influenced by the Train Drives That Screed film.
Train drives at screen, yeah, classic, infamous classic of cinema. If you don't know the story, back in 1890 something, the first ever
France, right?
That sounds right. The first ever sort of motion picture footage that was shown to an audience was just footage of a train coming towards the screen, and it wasn't like a dead-on shot. It was standing at an angle, like on a platform, and trains coming past. But because no one had ever seen any footage before of anything, everyone in the theater freaked out because they thought a train was going to hit them.
Yeah, apparently it was a big deal.
I mean, it's funny to us now because we've all grown up with TV and movies.
Yeah,
but
especially if you've seen those kind of grainy footages before, it doesn't even look real.
No, true. It's black and white for a start. I mean, the world's not black and white. What are you thinking, people?
I don't know.
It's also not like a discotheque like Tara's camera seems to think it is sometimes.
I know, right? Whatever.
We'll have to tinker after this record. We've got another one after this. But yeah, so this happens, and he just wants to go back home, basically. So he runs back to the professor's place, and randomly there's a criminal who's broken in and is trying to raid the place, and we get a fight between him and this present day criminal, which ultimately involves him being strangled. Caswell gets strangled by the blind cord or whatever it is, and that's not lost on me, of course, that he was going to be hanged and then he got strangled with a piece of rope. So there is kind of a weird fate element to this where he still met his end the way it was kind of supposed to happen. But of course, then we have perhaps the most contrived thing in the episode.
Bizarre.
Where this criminal who knows nothing about what he's doing, he's just looking for valuables, not even knowing that there's anything here, because he's convinced there's going to be a will safe. He turns on some buttons by accident by leaning against the wall. Okay, I'll buy that part. But then he gets in the pod and the door like seals and it sends him to where Caswell came from. So he lands in 1880 and is killed via hanging. And everyone in the 1880s is like, whoa, what are these clothes? My.
Yeah, I don't really follow the time travel part of this. Like, I get the idea of trying to bring somebody from the past to you if that's the only kind of time travel you're able to do with this machine. But if you can go back in time, why wouldn't the professor just go back in time?
More dangerous, I guess. You can control the...
Clearly not.
Yeah, you happen to get a criminal.
Plus, if you take somebody from the past, like, and bring it to you, I mean, you could screw up a lot of, I mean, and this guy was about to be hanged, but like, what if he had kids after or something,
Well, yeah, he was going to be hanged, so obviously not. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I guess it's kind of two things. It's kind of time cop rules in that, as far as we know, you can't go into the future, only the past. And then secondly, it reminds me a little bit of Travelers, where they would only take bodies of people in the past if they were about to die anyway. So I don't know if the scientist knew that he was going to be dead anyway. Clearly not, because he's surprised that he's like a criminal, and he's surprised by the noose like mark around his neck.
Do you think it would have been more interesting if instead of the opening scene being the hanging of our lead character, the lead character was the professor, and we saw him just bring somebody from the past and then try to figure out who he is or if he's dangerous?
Yeah, I think so. I think... again, if they played it like I thought they were going to, which I thought was going to be the interesting part of it, was like them being together, essentially just talking the whole episode, and like him having to figure out like that. It could work that we know he's a criminal at that point if it's the whole thing's about him trying to realize and like, is he going to get it? Is he going to understand it? But at the same time, you're right. It could also work where we don't know he's a criminal and we discover it with the professor throughout the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Because the second half of the episode, well, a lot of the stuff where he's reacting to things are kind of fun. It just kind of feels like there's not much of a story to it. It's just...
No, he just gets angry. I mean, I hate music of today, and so I guess I get it, But...
Yeah, the bartender's actually quite laid back about the fact that he destroys his jukebox. He's like, hey, you're going to have to pay for that. But he says it so casual. He's not angry. He's just like, hey, that's going to get added to your bill.
Yeah, but then the guy pulls out a gun and puts it on the counter, and he knows that he's like stressed out or
oh yes, he means business,
deranged or something. So he's like, here, just take this booze and go home. Have a good day.
and I have to also question Professor's intelligence here a little bit, because we cracked a joke about it being, I said it was more safer, you said clearly not, and I'm like, well, no, you've got a point. Like, if you're bringing someone random from the past to the present day, especially from such a large time gap, like, there's a good chance you're going to get someone who is angry about it or is a bit of a scoundrel. So
right,
my question would be,
what if you take somebody right before they're going to do something important, or like take a child or something, you know?
But just in the off chance that it's going to be someone dangerous, why doesn't he have like a cage around it, or like something, some sort of security in case he's dangerous, whoever comes up, whoever comes through the pod? Like, if it's someone dangerous, do you not think he'd want to be prepared? But he's so trusting, and it costs him his life. That's it.
Yeah. I don't know. This is a pretty flawed episode.
It doesn't click together for me. All the elements feel very separate, and I feel like there's definitely parts that I like, that I want the idea to be explored and like expand upon that one sort of element. But the rest of it like feels...
I liked watching him freak out, and like go primal on all this new technology he doesn't understand. But like, for the most part, other than that, like, I didn't really enjoy the elements of this episode. Like, the time travel stuff was just kind of, it didn't really work for me.
I agree. It wasn't that fun. Because for me, I really thought it was going to be about him concealing who he was, and then discover, the other character discovering that over the episode, and it wasn't that at all. That gets thrown away immediately, and it went down these different paths. And all the stuff with the technology, every time I see this in an old show or movie, I always start to think, well, what if I took someone from this time period and said, hey, look at look at this video game. You know,
Yeah.
like it's like a movie you can control. Just watch their eyes melt.
What's a movie?
Do you like the
Um,
you like the internet? Here, internet.
yeah.
Yeah, because I'm thinking more from this, because this is the weird thing, is that 1960 to today is 60 years next year, right? Which is only 20 years less than the gap between 1880 and 1960, which is what this guy traveled. So I think the more interesting elements for the episode for me was just me thinking about how much has changed since 1960 and how it compares to how much changed from 1880 to 1960. And like, I think clearly the bigger leap is the earlier gap, because it went from no electricity to electricity. It went from, no TV, movies, and phones and music. Well, there's music, but like jukeboxes and
Having
things like that.
to tame a beast in order to go from point A to point B for a long distance.
But at the same time, you take someone from 1960 and you show them the internet, or you show them how easy it is to access information. You show them, all sorts of like modern things, and watch their minds be blown that way, or even just like casually mention the amount of TV channels there is, and then mention that we don't even really bother with them now anymore because there's a new option.
Yeah, just the amount of excess that we have.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah, so I don't know. It got me thinking about that, and I was having more fun thinking about that than I was paying attention to the actual premise of the episode.
That can sometimes lead to a pretty good episode too, if it gets you thinking about other stuff.
Yeah. True. But would you say this is a pretty good episode?
Unless it gets you thinking about things that are just better. Like better episodes.
Oh dear. So, I mean, yeah, it's a really mediocre episode, I think. It's not terrible, it's not unwatchable, but ultimately, at the end, I was just kind of like, that's a forgettable one. Yeah, I'm not going to remember this that well.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. There we go. So, Serling at the end tells us about the next episode 27, which is called The Big Tall Wish. And yeah, it's about a kid having this wish. Here's the description on IMDb. An aging boxer finds himself the winner of a match he thought he'd lost, the result of a 6-year-old's frantic wish. But can a world-weary, embittered man still believe in miracles, or will he turn his back on it? I don't know. I don't know what to expect from this.
Yeah, me neither.
Although the average rating on IMDb gives me an idea, but it's not high. I'm just going to say that it's not high. It does feel very different to other types of Twilight Zone episode. It feels it's going to be going for heartwarming, and not that every episode's been more bleak, because they've not all been, but that's definitely.
Well, I mean, we do know of another episode that's going to come up eventually about a boy who wishes for things. That is horrifying.
That's true. And I remember that episode because that episode's really great. So
I remember the episode because it was in the Twilight Zone movie also.
I've never seen the movie. I guess that's I guess that's what we're building up to at the end of all this. That's the finale. Oh, did the movie come?
Well, I mean, I think it would be a good Screams.
A good Screams?
Screams After Midnight.
No, it has to be us. We've done the whole show.
All right. Well, I don't know if it has to, but
I think it does.
Maybe it would make more sense for you to review it after you've watched the show, because the movie takes from the different, like 3 different episodes and puts them into it. I think it takes two or 3 from the show, and then it has like 1 or 2 original ones.
I feel like
the opening is really good, though. The opening's scary.
I feel like, because I think the movie came before the 80s show, right?
I want to say yes.
I think because I think the movie's right at the start of the 80s, so I feel like this the finale to the original show is doing the movie. So let us know what you think in the comments below about the episode. You can like and subscribe and all the usual stuff. You can of course support us financially. Tara, how can they do that?
You can check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/MildFuzzTV. You can donate as low as $1 per month. That dollar gets you bonus episodes of our show, The Ace, the science fiction movie show that we do, and bonus episodes for Screams After Midnight, which we mentioned, and other cool stuff. So check it out.
Tara did that entire thing while fighting with her cat. That was
No, I'm not fighting. I'm loving on my kitty. Plus, I'm trying to keep him from going to the door.
Yes. You can, of course, also support us by rating the audio podcast feed. If you listen to the audio version, give us 5 stars on there. Helps us out a lot. Lets more people find it via recommendations and search results and things like that. So, yeah, thank you very much for joining us. Keep watching The Twilight Zone and keep watching all TV in The Twilight Zone.
Nice.